All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regularly scheduled mayor and council meeting for Monday, April 26, 2021. Please join me in a moment of silence, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the first item on our agenda this evening is the approval of our minutes from the work session on April 12, 2021.
Motion to approve.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Orris
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let the record reflect that Councilmember Nichols, Orris, and Nur are present, and Councilmember Burrell and Purnell are absent. And the motion, or the approval of our minutes for the work session of April 12, 2021 passes 3-0. The next up is the approval of our minutes from the regular session for April 12, 2021.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Orris and a second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes from our regular session of April 12, 2021 passed 3-0. Up next, agenda item number 2 is a presentation by the Berlin Fire Company and the Berlin Fire Company EMS Services for their quarterly report. And President David Fitzgerald is here with us this evening. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so if they're PowerPoints.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Here we go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Our Chief Road got called back into work tonight, so he was going to be here. And Mr. Brittingham, our EMS captain, he is working. So I'm going to pitch it and present both the operational and the financial update. So this is the brief quarterly update that we give each quarter to the Mayor and Council. Start with Berlin Fire Company. And this is information in the period of January 1 to March 31 of 2021. So first is the in-town fire and rescue call responses. So 17 calls in town limits. That's 30% of the overall calls. And the out-of-town was 41 at 70%. Again, this is either just the fire and rescue calls. The busiest days are Mondays and Thursdays, followed by Saturday. And the busiest times of the day for fire department response, fire and rescue, is 2 to 3 in the afternoon, followed by 3 to 4 in the afternoon. The fire company response time is 4.23 minutes. Remind you back to the county response standard is 6 minutes before the alert the next company, so we are below the 6-minute standard. And then the matrix report refers to a 9-minute or less to respond with a volunteer response. The fire and rescue from January to March revenue, and these are just the briefings of anything that's variance, just to remind Mayor and Council. We just want to bring to Mayor and Council's attention, this is mainly in the next quarter fundraisers. We are looking at our chicken barbecues. Matter of fact, we are in the process of planning one. We just discussed this at our meeting just a half hour ago. One for the car show on May 22nd. We'll have that barbecue at headquarters. And then based on our staff and the availability of manpower, we will go back to our Station 2 on Route 611 because of the traffic flow for summer and pick some Saturdays, one Saturday a month for July, August, June, July, August, September, and try to have a barbecue down there once a month.
Now, if you're committing to do the May 22nd for the car show, and it's going to be at headquarters, make sure you get that information to Mary so we can get it on the public access channel and maybe tuck that in our Berlin bulletin for May.
Sure, yeah, actually, we're working on that right now, so that would be
And I've been communicating with Ivy Wells as the contact that I've been communicating with the town economic development director.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, while we're on this, it's not really a budgetary item per se, but just to remind everybody in the public, there will be several hundred guests in the town on Friday and Saturday. We're hosting the Delmarva Firemen's Association annual meeting. We're not allowed, still governor's orders, can't have conventions, so they've canceled all the convention part. This is just our annual meeting and election of officers, but we will have quite a few guests in town representing fire companies from all of Delaware, Eastern Shore of Maryland, Eastern Shore of Virginia. So it's a widespread association, and that's the Delmarva Firemen's Association. And that will be Friday and Saturday at the firehouse. Again, no parade, no displays. We're not allowed to have a convention, but they can come have their annual meeting following all the code and guidelines.
And you said it was that right here?
Right here, headquarters in the conference center, some things in each place because we have to stay social distance. So we'll have some in each with a memorial service to recognize any fallen firefighters. I think the chaplain told me there was about 80 fallen firefighters in that region over a 2-year period because it was not a conference last year. We recognized on Saturday at a closed memorial session that the fire personnel will attend.
You're listing this as a fundraiser?
I just put it here to prompt me. We do hope that we will generate some revenue from this. It is a revenue generator. We have tried to get advertisements in the book. Anything above we do get to keep. So if we do make money on this by selling the ads and our expenses are below, yes, it would be. So it would be a fundraiser. Anything we keep revenue over expenses, we would be keeping it. We don't have to turn it back into the association.
Do you have an expectation for how much that might be?
We do not, because we're still selling ads up to today. And our food costs, the caterer just called me today, and the food costs go up on a daily basis. So we won't know till we're totally complete, and we won't know until how many people attend either. Because it'll be based on attendance for that meal that Friday night.
Maybe I'm not, are you saying like ads? Like ADS?
Advertisements.
Okay.
Advertisements, yes. We work with Ivy Wells and the Berlin Mayor. We've been Berlin Chamber for over a year because we were supposed to be the host in 2020.
Okay.
So we do have ads. The town of Berlin has a full page ad in the booklet. Again, we're trying to encourage those people who visit, they have spouses, need something to do, encourage them to come in town, spend some money, encourage them to come back to the community on another time that they don't have a convention. So we've been partnering with Ms. Wells and the Chamber, again, to promote Berlin. The revenue, town funds are 100% paid as per the contract, and we have no highlights of the budget variances in January to March. Everything still appears to be within budget. As a reminder, when we gave our presentation for the proposal for services for next year, most of our things that will occur in the next quarter. April to June is when most of our expenses occur for buying equipment, that type of thing, because we wait till the last quarter to make sure we've not had any emergencies arise or budget variances that we would have to take care of. And the same with the capital budget. Most of that will all come in, as Chief Rhodes mentioned at the presentation for services. The fire gear and everything has been ordered. That all will be in the budget report that will conclude on June 30.
Any questions that weren't asked for the fire company report?
Jeff, are you EMS?
All right, so we'll move on to the EMS report.
Thank you.
Have it already, yeah, that was quick.
This is the report for the quarter, January 1st, March 31st, 2021, for the Berlin Fire Company Emergency Medical Services, which is the ambulance service. Again, for those same periods, the in-town EMS responses, 227, which is 63.4% of the calls, and 131 out of town for 36.6%. The transports of those calls, 161 are transports, that's where somebody's transported to the hospital, and the non-transports are 66. And just to refresh memory, that's where you respond out, the person refuses treatment, doesn't want treatment, or it's a response of the ambulance that goes along with the fire service, because we always respond to ambulance with the fire service. We never know when we get to a fire call if somebody's injured, they've been burnt, or one of our personnel would have a medical or traumatic emergency. So that's what just a reminder what the non-transports are. And then the out-of-town is 85 transports and 44 non-transports. The EMS, the busiest days are Thursday first, followed by Saturday, and the busiest times of EMS are 11 to 12 noon, followed by an hour prior to that, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. The EMS response time is a 1 minute average. That includes some of our second and third run calls. Most of our second and third run calls are being answered by other companies now, so we don't monitor their response, we monitor our response. So again, our second units is staffed by just that one paramedic. If they can't get a volunteer that's available to come up, they'll just respond out, give the appropriate care until the next ambulance arrives. But we have a 1 minute average time of getting that first ambulance out the door.
Is that based on in-town calls only, or
I'm sorry?
is that based on just in-town calls?
That's based on all calls.
All calls?
All calls, yeah. Yeah, because we have a staff unit there, so we can get out in 60 seconds on all calls, first call. Highlights for the EMS budget for this quarterly period. Our annual donations, just remind everybody what those are. That's the mailing that goes out the first weekend after Thanksgiving. That is the $50 donation that then allows coverage for either your copay or your deductible if you're transported on the ambulance. That covers that. We've pretty much have closed that out. We don't see any more. You might see a straggler, somebody finds that on their desk somewhere, in a mail, but most of that revenue is closed out. We did exceed that by $6,000 this year, so that was very good. Our invoices for the whole 9-month period were down about $20,000 in invoices, and that's due to our call value being down somewhat with COVID.
So when somebody from Ocean Pines gets one of your mailings, I asked you the question last year, and you take a senior citizen over there that just responds, and sends you a check for $50, what do you do with that $50?
We return, if they're not in the fire district, and that is caught through the Bank of Ocean City, if we have an address on the check, we return that or a check.
How about $5 checks?
They go into regular donations.
Okay.
But if they're not within our fire district, the checks are returned to them. If we have a way of knowing that. If there's a P.O. box and they live in Ocean Pines, or they live in, we have one of our members who lives way out of town and has a P.O. box, we have no way of knowing that person did not live in the fire district. So we have that clearly marked on the mailer, that if you're not sure what district you live in, EMS district, that you are to call, has a phone number to call and verify that.
Is there a map of the fire districts somewhere?
Is there a map of the fire district somewhere? The 911 center has a map. I can't say that I have one.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
And the town funds have been received 100% in the last quarter, so we're 100% this fiscal year's contract. And then our expense budget highlights. We're on budget with our payroll with the cuts we had made before, which is a reminder, we eliminated the daytime EMT position for FY 2021. Payroll is our biggest expense, as you see in our reports, but we are on budget with that, so that's good. And all other accounts, we've had no major repairs. We predict that we're all within budget. And then the capital, there's not any capital funds in this year. We do have the ambulance payment that we're paying the interest payments on monthly.
The only thing, David, that I see typically in some of the other reports, you've had a breakout for the in-town calls, breaking out like Gall Creek and the nursing home. We didn't have that on this one, so just in the future, if we can get that broken out, it'd be helpful. All right.
And then,
And do we have any questions for President Fitzgerald as it relates to the EMS presentation or any of the presentations that we've had so far?
I just have kind of piggybacking on Mayor Tyndall there. For your, I believe you'll be back in July for your final quarter report. If you can include, please, a a cumulative number for the fiscal year of your in-town and out-of-town calls for both, please? And then, just as a follow-up, when we had our tour, again, thank you, that was very, I had enjoyed checking it out. The Mayor Tyndall did offer for our upcoming events, if you wanted to, I believe, if I'm wrong, let me know, like a tent to recruit members. So I would just please keep that in mind when you're talking to Ivy. You said you've been talking to her, so we do have some events, I believe, coming up and planned for the rest of the year. So we'll hopefully help you recruit some folks.
Yeah, I mean, any event, farmer's market, anything that we have, you're welcome to set up a tent. You're welcome to accept donations, do blood pressure checks, any of those things would be very helpful.
And thank you.
Okay.
So I do have another question. It was on the boundaries, the in fire district, I'm saying this all wrong, in the EMS district or whatever. How do you, like, can we find out how we can see, can you find?
Oh, I can send you a map.
Please.
Yeah, I just don't have one available.
Right.
We can ask the 911 center to export a map, and I can send you a map. Yeah.
Right, yeah, I mean, I guess when I'm hearing the question, if they're out of your fire district, but you guys service them and that flyer goes out to someone, the thought is when that donation comes, that it goes, the bank disseminates if it's in your fire district or not? I don't understand.
Well, the donations don't come to the fire company.
Okay,
If it's an EMS donation, it goes to process through the Bank of Ocean City. And there is a slip of paper in there. And if it would say Mystic Harbor or Ocean Pond or something like that, we return that to them. We don't deposit that into our account. So we don't service anybody
So that
outside of
comes- so
our
that-
district.
it comes, it leaves the bank, the bank sends it back to,
Or they may send it on to us and ask us to send it back. But if we can identify it's not in our EMS district, we return it. We do not take funds, people that are not in our district,
Okay.
knowingly. Not saying accidents doesn't happen, we
Right,
get the
right.
number of donations, but if we knowingly recognize the address as not being in our response area, we return it. That's the right thing to do.
yeah, I was just listening, figuring out the filter,
That's
how
okay.
that happens.
That's good, man.
All right?
Actually, something I just thought of. Have you heard anything back from your grant application? I believe when we were here for the budget session, you were talking about you were working with the bank for your...
From our
for your-
PPP, we have not heard anything back from our PPP, no.
But you have made application?
We signed it on the 12th of April, I think, that Friday.
All right. Well, thank you, President Fitzgerald, and
Thank you.
we'll see you for your next quarterly report. And if there's anything we can do between now and then, let us know.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I assume you're inviting us back up to talk more about our presentation for services, so
Most
we'll see you before
definitely
June
before
30th.
the end of the fiscal year, most definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, have a good day.
All right, so up next on our agenda is agenda item number 3, motion 2021-10. Motion to approve the use of Henry Park's basketball courts for a summer basketball clinic. And Mr. Myro Smalls with Worcester County Recreation and Parks is here to give us a presentation.
Yes, good
Thank
evening,
you.
Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Thank you, council, for having me. On behalf of the Worcester County Rec Department, we would like to propose a summer basketball league at Henry Park this summer on Flower Street, running from June 5th until July 24th. It would be an 8-week program with the permission of the town of Berlin in partnership. I think 2 years ago we ran a pretty successful summer league program there. The cost for the program is $35 per participant, but through our Worcester County Boosters Fund, we're able to deduct about 85% of the participation cost to $5 per participant.
That's great. I was looking through this, and I was trying to see if I could find an age. Is there an age limit?
It's grades 5 through 8, and the reason why we have it grades 5 through 8 due to the regulation height of the basketball courts, they're not adjustable.
And is there a limit, a number? I felt like, maybe it's just me, I didn't see a
No,
capacity.
there's not a participation max on the program, but what we do average is about 25 to 27 participants. for the program.
This is a wonderful program. I'm glad to see that you got a cost reduction for the participants, so I'll make a motion to give it approval.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Nur, and we're looking for a second.
Second.
And a second by Councilmember Orris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes unanimously, 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Monroe Small. I always add an S, I apologize for that. And we look forward to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council, for your time.
Thank you.
Are you going to go get on the back door?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols, I saw you shaking your head. Are you a little slow on the draw for voting?
She's thinking about dribbling.
We need to have a curve because she's down on the lower level. All right, so agenda item number 4 is a proclamation 2021-31 for Municipal Clerks Week, and I'll read that on behalf of the town of Berlin. A proclamation 2021-31, a proclamation of the Mayor and Council of the town of Berlin recognizing the 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the Mayor and Council of the town of Berlin recognize the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government exists throughout the world, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and of the community, and whereas it is most important that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk, now therefore Isaac Tyndall, Mayor of the Town of Berlin, do recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend our appreciation for professional municipal clerks for the service they perform. Witness my hand and seal the 26th day of April, 2021. And we do have a municipal clerk among us.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you not just during this time, but all the time. So
Thank you.
thank you. All right. So,
Thank you.
Huh?
A week
A
dedicated
week
to you.
dedicated.
it's going to be further known as Kelsey's Week.
Yes. I expect cake and balloons.
Daily, right?
Ice cream.
So up next is agenda item number 5, the stormwater presentation by Davis Bowen and Fidel, and Josh Taylor is here to run.
Hey, so Josh, sit in this seat right here. I hear you better right
Do I
there.
have to sit?
And thank you for coming this evening.
Oh, no problem. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Josh Taylor. I'm with Davis Bowen and Fidel. We're the town engineer for Town of Berlin. I've been working in Berlin for 20 years, working with your staff here. Kate, you've been here almost
21.
21?
Oh, you're both babies.
Sorry, Mary.
So it's great to see some fresh faces on the council, and I appreciate Jeff inviting me here to talk about your water and wastewater infrastructure. I don't get into the stormwater part of it, that's Darrell's job, so I'll let him talk about that. But,
We do have a clicker on the table, which
okay.
if you want to run point on, as we move forward.
I'll ask, does everybody have a copy of the
It's in the package,
presentation?
yes.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you.
Well, we start then.
Say, I'm happy to do it, but you move at your own pace.
I'm going to have to back up a couple times. So.
Who took that button away?
All right, so this is just an overview map of the town of Berlin, just to give you guys a feel for the general infrastructure you have for your water and wastewater. This map actually shows your elevated storage tanks, your drinking water wells, your pumping stations, and of course the wastewater treatment plant. Tonight, just wanted to kind of go through the existing status of some of the water and wastewater infrastructure. Talk about the capacities for water and wastewater of different components of your systems. Briefly, or generally talk about proposed development with the growth that we are seeing in the town of Berlin, and also briefly discuss some infrastructure improvements that the town has slated in need of for the next few years. Wastewater always gets the limelight, so we'll start with drinking water, I apologize, this mask is getting my ears. You guys do have 3 drinking water wells throughout the town that produce about 1,700 gallons per minute of water. Right now, your appropriation permit is 500,000 gallons per day, with up to 750,000 gallons per day during the month of maximum use, usually in the summertime. Looking at the last 5 years, you guys are averaging about 400,000 gallons per day, so you do have some room there. Although it has been steadily climbing for the last 5 years, and you're up to 2020 average is 440, or 88% of the average daily flow. Don't let that worry you. Your wells have much more capacity than your appropriation permit is rated for. And we've already talked to the town about applying for an increase to the appropriation permit and the month of maximum use just to keep up with the permitting side of it. But your wells are sized to handle your average daily flows plus fire flows. And we just need to make sure we keep up the maintenance on the wells so that they continue to operate and continue to operate at an efficient capacity. Looking at the elevated storage tanks, right now you have 2 elevated storage tanks, which are about 450,000 gallons in the air. That's more than your average daily usage, which is a good thing. And your wells have backup power supplies, so we can also count that towards storage capacity to cover any fire flows or growth that we're seeing over the next few years. So all in all, on the water side, you're in good shape. We do recommend officially increasing the appropriation permit through the state of Maryland this year. And just basically keeping up on the maintenance of the wells and the elevated storage tanks to make sure that your potable water supply remains intact.
What is the lifespan of the elevated water?
So I've seen, there's 100-year-old ones, but I'd say the average lifespan is going to be in the 40 to 50-year range. And that's with about 15 years of complete coating, interior and exterior coating. Of course, the interior coating is very important to maintain that separation of the metal and the coatings from the water supply. But usually you can get 50 years out of one of the storage tanks. You know how old Franklin Avenue is?
70,
Mid-70s.
yeah, I want to say we filled out that paper the other day, I want to say it was mid-70s.
So you got 45 years right there. And as long as you maintain the coatings and they're structurally sound, they can last longer than that. The town of Berlin has been kicking around the idea of installing a new elevated storage tank. If you look at, if I go back to the map, but you guys know the 346 corridor there is where both your tanks are located on the northern end of town. There was talk for years of adding another elevated storage tank on the south end of town just to spread out the flows and pressures. However, with the more recent development being centered around the North 818, North Main Street, and the Route 50 and 113 corridor there, kind of that little A-frame, you may want to consider a storage tank on the north end of town. The good thing is that when you put half a million gallons of water, 120, 130 feet in the air, it goes everywhere. The town's water distribution system is appropriately sized to be able to get fire protection and domestic flows to your entire system. So that's a good thing, and it says a lot for the long-term planning of the town over the last couple of decades.
Now, Jamie, you shared a statistic with me in the past about how much water you want in the air.
MDE recommends you should have at least 1 day of storage in the air. We're getting close to it, but that's part of planning too. That's why he's here with what we're doing tonight.
It's also good to have 2 hours of fire flows. So at 1,000 gallons per minute, 120 minutes, you would be over that limit, but the state does allow you to use basically your well with a generator counts as storage. But it's nice to have that water in the air, not relying on pumps and generators and mechanical equipment if at all possible. And as the town continues to grow, that's certainly a topic of discussion of when we need a new tank, where is going to be the best place to put it. Because in industrial growth versus commercial growth versus residential growth, it's handled in different ways.
What's the what's the formula or the pressure required above of a storage tank to get, what am I trying to, what's that number?
Your average water system should be right around 45 to 50 PSI. That's, because that'll shut off all your automated valve, your automated flushing material, because they need so much pressure for the flush. So,
I think we understand what I was.
yeah, so roughly, just to give you a little, for every 2.31 foot, it's equal to 1 PSI. So that's how you get up the mathematical equation of where we come up with roughly about 50. We should be right around 52 to 54 PSI. Depends on what the level is in the tank. I mean, it's going to fluctuate because the tank goes down and the wells kick on and fill it up. So we should be, right around 50 to 54 PSI, I'm going to say.
Thank you.
But that's locally centered around your water tanks. Now, as you get out, as in Josh said, further a little bit south, it might be a tad bit less, but you're still getting the volume.
Yeah, so that's key, especially if you've got a 3-story house or an apartment complex that has a 3rd story, you really want to be up to 50 PSI so they can get the showers working on the 3rd floor. Another reason for the 50 PSI is to be able to fight fires. You need to have 20 PSI residual when in the system when the hydrant's flowing, so that the fire company can utilize the hydrants, but at the same time not have an adverse effect on the surrounding residential users. So we take all that into account when we're sizing the water mains. And one of the reasons that you guys do have good flow to the south end of town is because you've got a good network of 10-inch mains that keeps that volume and are looped in for the most part. North end of Main Street's not looped in, but pretty much everywhere else is well looped, which is great for pressures, flows, and also for repairs. And you don't have to tell, a couple hundred people are losing water for a couple of days while you repair their water main.
Jimmy, when you said a day's worth of water in the air, that's across the board with all of the water tower thingies, or
Yes.
per?
Well, I mean, in the water towers, we have roughly 450,000 gallons of storage. We're roughly running right around 403 right now. So that leaves us with a little bit of room, but, that's if we lost power. But we do have 2 wells that have standby generators. Now, they're not, the large one is at Powell Avenue, 980 gallons a minute. It's Franklin and Branch Street. So, I mean, that would be a good thing to maybe look at, in due time, to look at Powell Avenue to be able to have a generator there. But at least if, the average flow is probably 400 gallons a minute, unless you're fighting fire, I mean, which would be the higher number, but at least we would be able to keep the town with water.
Yeah, and while we're discussing the water systems, if I were to recommend 2 improvements to your water system, number 1 would be to replace the meters so that you have more accurate and profitable. You got a lot of lost revenues with the water meters that you have right now, and basically that's money being thrown away by the town. And then the second thing would be, as Jamie said, to add a generator at Powell Avenue as your largest producing well. Those would both be high on the list.
Jim, why don't you share with council the maintenance that you did on the 346 water tower recently?
Okay, the town takes, and it's in our budget, so you'll see it in a little bit, but I'll go ahead with it now. The town rents out space on Franklin Avenue water tower to AT&T and T-Mobile. So we get money from that every month. So what we did is hired a consultant, or not a consultant, but a firm called Southern Corrosion. So every 5 years, we had the exterior of the tanks painted. They come and do an inspection of our water towers every year. This year, we had 1 tower painted, Franklin Avenue was painted interior, 346 was painted interior and exterior. So that's the first time 346 has ever been painted interior since '96 when it was built. So we had it cleaned and painted interior. So now exterior will be painted every 5 years. So Franklin Avenue's been done 3, so 2 more years we'll get another coat on that one. 346 East was coated this year, interior and exterior. So the exterior will be 5 years. So 2025 it'll be painted exterior, and interiors gets done every 15 years. But every 5 years we'll have to drain them and do maintenance on the interior but it'd be down just a day or two. So, I mean, by the time we drain it, they'll go ahead and do their inspections, come back, neutralize it, do a test, and then we'll be back up and running.
And we did learn in the last, 14 months that the town can operate, not for a long period of time, but it can operate with one tower.
Yes, and we have to do some adjusting on different things in the system, but we figured out what we can do and what we can't do. I mean, it's a learning curve because we never really had to take 346 off. But we figured it out, got it done, and, I mean, really didn't have any complaints, and, you know.
When you operate with one, that will reduce the water pressure throughout the town, correct?
Pressure will stay about the same, just
The volume,
flow.
you lose your volume. So that's when I talked to, I think the chief was Trimble when we did that. I told him anything that he knew, if they hit him out for alarm, to call us immediately, because that way we could come here and start turning wells on to give them the additional water, or he might need to set up as in what we call tanker task force to help bring in water to offset because we were down one tower. So it's a juggling game. So it's not like you're just doing it to one person. When we took 346 offline, you know, we went to the nursing home, AGH, the cancer center. You know, it was 2 days of nothing but knocking on doors and speaking to people and, you know, trying to make sure that, okay, we're going to take this off at 7 o'clock in the morning. Can somebody be there to make sure that you got enough pressure to operate for the day? So it was a learning curve, and we learned some stuff, but we figured it out, and we're back up and running.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the water system? If you come and think of something else afterwards or later, just call out, or you guys mostly have my number. I can give you my emails. Any questions, feel free to give me a call. But let's move on to wastewater. The existing wastewater treatment plant has a permitting capacity of 750,000 gallons with the state right now. There's some specifics in here on the limits and requirements of that permit, but that probably doesn't interest you very much. Just know that Jamie and his crew are running a tight ship over there, and they do really well meeting the permit. And basically the state, once you get to 80% of your permit limit, once you start planning for a wastewater treatment plant upgrade, looking at the capacity, and you guys are already a high quality effluent. You actually spray everything. You're one of the only ones that have zero discharge into the rivers. I think you have the ability to discharge to the river.
And then ND made it's concreted off.
So looking at the last few years, wastewater flows, as you can see on here, we've actually had a slight reduction in the last 3 years. I think that's in part due to I&I issues being found and resolved, which is great. I&I is inflow infiltration, is basically groundwater or surface water from rain getting into your wastewater collection system. It's not a good thing because it means that you are paying to treat rain when really it should be collected by the stormwater systems and you go directly into the ditches and ponds and other waterways. You guys, we ran a calculation, you guys were at about approximately 15% of the flow into your wastewater treatment plant was I&I. And I have several clients that are in the 40 to 50% range. So 10 is considered optimal. Really, you're going to have 10% I&I into your system. 20% is considered acceptable. So you guys are ahead of the curve on I&I. And that has a lot to do with the maintenance of your existing sewer collection system. Really nothing to do with the wastewater treatment plant itself. But also rain events. The more rain you have, the more I&I you have, and the older your system is. So the town's staff does a good job of finding and repairing leaks in the sewer system to keep that I&I down, which keeps your costs down. As you guys know, Berlin's growing. It's growing at a faster clip than a lot of its neighbors. Very attractive town. People want to live here, and that's a good thing. We just got to make sure we stay on top of the wastewater treatment plant capacity. As I said earlier, when you hit 80% of your permit limit, the state wants you to start planning for an upgrade. So we are starting that process now to stay ahead of the state. We want to tell the state we're planning for an upgrade, not have the state tell us we need to plan for an upgrade. If you look at your reserve infill EDUs, right now you've got 213. That will take you up to 73% of the permitting capacity. And with the additional flows that we have planned for 2021, that will take you up to 76% total capacity. Now, those reserve infill are not all going to happen this year, next year, or even in the next 10 years. But you have to reserve those because that's people who are inside the service area who are probably paying ready to serve fees. And so when they are ready to be served, we want to be there for them.
So a development like Oceans East, how many EDUs would they be signed for phase one?
Phase one was 153, if I'm not mistaken. They just purchased 48 more, so that's
For phase two?
phase two, so they're roughly right around 200. And then, Willows just bought 35, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And
One large development could eat up the remaining capacity.
I think you have a slide in here that starts to look at our projected capacity.
Yeah, there's a general slide in here later that looks at some of the upcoming developments. And you can see here at the very bottom, you've got 132 EDUs, more EDUs above the infill to where you hit that 80% point where the state's going to require that you start planning for an upgrade to the wastewater treatment facility.
And go ahead.
Is that 132 current with a couple of developments that you just mentioned?
Yes. Yeah, that's based off the numbers we got from Jamie and Megan.
yeah, right after I think it was within the last 2 weeks, we've got those numbers, so they've already purchased them to get their building permit.
And the question that Councilmember Nur had about, or the statement saying that we're close to hitting those thresholds, that's why we wanted to have Josh come in and give this presentation, because there are some infrastructure improvements that can be made, but it's going to come at an expense. And every option to be able to hit that is at least $2 million. So we need to keep in mind that as we expand, that it comes at a cost too. We're going to have to one day increase the capacity of that plant, and it's probably in the short term.
Exactly. Okay, next slide. The focus is on the wastewater treatment plant because that's where the permitted capacities come in. But the backbone of the sewer system in Berlin is really the pump stations, gravity sewer collection lines, the force mains that run throughout the town and get all that wastewater to the plant. We've been focused on 4 particular pump stations for the last couple of years. Route 346 East and West pump stations are both over 20 years old, and we are seeing a lot of development in those areas, sending more residential development to those pump stations. The town's policy is typically to, when a developer comes in and is going to, the new flows are going to require an upgrade to a pump station, the policy is for that developer to pay for those improvements whenever possible. So we will be looking to stick with that policy on 346 East and West pump stations. The other 2 pump stations we've been looking at are not, we're not looking at them because of growth necessarily, but because of the age of the pump station itself. Broad Street is the oldest pump station I've ever been in. It was built in 35, updated in 58, and it looks like it doesn't know you guys a dollar. I'll put it like that. It's
Easy, Josh.
old, antiquated. It needs a new electric system, new controls.
Well,
and
first off,
safety improvements.
that's the main thing, is safety, because that is the one lift station we have to crawl down into to clean every day. If not, we'll be there every day pulling rags out of the pumps. But that lift station was okay by NDE because we had fans and stuff like that, but you literally have to crawl down inside and break the bar screen. So that is one of the, in the budget we put into, that's one of the ones that we want to try to upgrade and get out of there.
Really, every day, or
That's what I just said.
Twice a day.
Twice a day.
7 days a week.
Maybe this is a good time to add that caveat of you cannot flush flushable wipes.
Yes.
Well, I've said
Can't
it
say
till
that
I'm blue,
enough.
I've said it till I'm blue in the face, and Josh can back me up, but they are the worst thing for a sewer system.
Yeah.
Whoever invented them, and I shouldn't say no more, I'm gonna keep it to myself.
We are gonna hopefully try to target some public service announcements at that. I mean,
I actually
Jamie-
have a graphic on the public access
Yeah.
channel.
And we've put
Hey,
it
why
on
don't
a
you add a
couple
jingle
bullets.
to that?
Sorry?
You could add a jingle, it might catch.
and you're gonna sing it. All right, let's get back to our presentation if we can.
So we listed the other pump stations and their ages here, but really the focus in the next few years, it should be on those 4 pump stations with the immediate focus. We're actually in the middle of a design right now to upgrade William Street, which has not been really touched since it started up in 1969. And we are also planning this year to design a replacement to the Broad Street pump station. It's too old to rehabilitate. But luckily we have land out there to put a new one closer to the existing road and put that in there and completely abandon the old pump station. So that would be,
To go to William Street real quick, I know Josh, it's in the budget, we're supposed to, it being good now. But William Street, I've been here 21 years and motors have been rebuilt one time. So, and some of the other people said they've never been rebuilt. So, since 1969, they've probably been rebuilt twice, but I don't think they owe us very much.
those pump work, or it's a good thing they're still sitting down there and not flapping around and driving. So that's your pump station situation right now. I already spoke briefly about the I&I. You guys are doing really well, above average when it comes to I&I, but you got to stay on top of the sewer collection system maintenance. And a big step that the town took was installing the high tide units, which allows you to monitor minute by minute flows at each of the pump stations. And you can see when a clog starts. So you don't have to wait till that clog starts, builds up, and blocks off your pump completely, and then you're out there shutting the station down, pulling the pump, taking it apart. You can actually see online, and I have access to look at it. Jamie doesn't want to play with anything. You can see when a clog's starting, perform maintenance, and not only save the loss of capacity, you're saving electrical costs as well.
And while we're on the topic of I&I, something that we'll probably deploy in FY22 is something called smoke testing, and Jamie can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, a lot of people don't understand that I would like to start downtown because a lot of your people that, back in the day, they would just run their storm drain, or not their storm drain, their downspouts, sump pumps right into the sewer. So if you could cut a lot of that out when we had heavy rains, you cut out the I&I, your number's gonna drop. So if we could figure out where some of that water's coming in and block it off coming into the system, you know, we could save potentially 500,000 gallons in a rain event, or 250,000 gallons. And that's gonna bring our number down for I&I, which is gonna bring that 14.5% down, which will give us more EDUs to help offset the cost of the treatment plant too. So, it works both ways. I mean, Maryland Rural Water does it for free, so we can get it done for free, but we still need to be able to enforce the people to get their downspouts out of the sewer. And actually, it'll help us too, because if there's a break in the line between the house too, we can pinpoint that. I mean, it will come, Maryland Rural Water just did one in Vienna, and it was actually coming out of a tree. They had cut the tree off and it kind of was hollow, and it was actually coming out of the tree. So, people don't understand how important that is, but even we put what they call Parsons insert. It's just a plastic lid. It goes into lift gate or into manholes. That one of them little holes on a manhole roughly let in about 50 gallons a minute. So if that manhole is underwater, there's 50 gallons a minute. There's 2 holes. That's 100 gallons a minute extra of water that you're treating. East Jordan Ironworks did a test onto it, and roughly I think it's a 1-inch hole for the pick to get into. It's roughly 100 gallons a minute. So I think in the last 3 years we've probably brought 200 or 300 of them. They're a little expensive, but it's brought our number down and helps our I&I issue too.
And to Jamie's point, like identifying the service of the smoke testing is free. But the catch to that is that once we've identified these things, we gotta have a way of plotting them. So we've talked about with Megan, using GIS and identifying where these, potential infiltrations may be, so that if we don't fix them right away, at least we know about them and we can go right back to them. So, something to keep our eye on for FY '22.
So any I&I you can save, as Jamie said, creates capacity and reduces cost. Because whenever a drop of rain goes into your waste and treatment plant, it takes a lot of electricity, a lot of pumps, and a lot of chemicals to treat that water that should just be going directly to the environment. So I&I is definitely a hot topic. You guys are doing really well, but it can always be better.
And no, not to cut him off, but it works hand in hand too, because when we're upgrading the stormwater, we're finding some of our stormwater has been tied in over time too. So it's working hand in hand when, we might find some more that's, tied in. So it works in conjunction with everything across the board.
Yeah, the smoke test is great because you find out real quick who's illegally tied into your sewer system. A lot of times they don't even know it, but just over the years, in older sections of town, it was nothing to tie roof leaders or a sump pump into the town sewer system. So, okay, here's the slide that I believe the mayor was referencing earlier. This is more of a general overview of potential development over the next few years. But as you can see, if Berlin even comes close to reaching its potential, there's 826 EDUs or units, living units on the board here.
And just to put that in context, 130 of those would get us to 80%. Roughly 130 of those would get us to 80%.
And the 826 would take you over the capacity of your pump station. Jamie, I don't know if you want to get into the, generally speaking, a upgrade to your wastewater treatment plant, which is in really good shape. But you have the ability to go from 750,000 gallons per day to 1.4 million gallons per day.
Yes, and I got some dates to go look at that.
And that's, just so that everybody knows what we're talking about, there's the capability of doing an upgrade at the treatment plant, or there's the ability to upgrade some of our pump stations. And if we do that, it's similar to something that was done in Tawnytown,
Yep.
correct? And what that allows us to do is it's a little bit more expensive in the initial upgrade, but you get more EDUs out of it. And when you look at somebody like the town of Berlin, our EDU costs are already pretty high. So by doing the upgrade where you get more EDUs, you're going to spread that cost out among more users and potentially help keep us somewhat competitive in the EDU cost side of things. So that is the preferred method, and I think Jamie, like you said, is going to go do some boots on the ground research for us, and then we'll have a more firm understanding of what that looks like.
And Berlin's a great town, but you guys don't want to double in size. But if you were to go to 1.4 MGD, you would not have to worry about another upgrade at that waste treatment plant for as long as any of us are going to be here. But nobody wants to see Berlin turn into, Salisbury. So
No, that is not our goal.
thank God. Good. Okay, so a lot of these I've already talked about, but just looking at some anticipated upgrades here in the near future. 346 east and west pump stations will need to have upgrades, not replacements, but upgrades to keep up with the development that's feeding those pump stations. William Street's currently under design, and we hope to be in construction by the end of this year. Broad Street will be designed in 2021 and in construction next year. Another, we briefly talked about installing a generator at Powton Avenue well. And another very high-ranking project that we submitted to the state of Maryland for grant and loan funding in January 2021 is the smart meter system. That's a little over $1 million for Last December was a little over $1 million. Right now, with the chatter we're seeing, with the infrastructure funding that's coming in, I'm talking to Ferguson, Bel Rate Supply, and they've never seen anything like the construction orders that are coming in right now for infrastructure, manholes, sewer pipe, water pipe. The costs are going up, so the longer we wait to get a project out in the streets, the more expensive it would be. Luckily, the Smart Meter System is a fairly simple project from a material standpoint. You're buying meters, you're swapping them out, some new pits. So basically, you don't have a large infrastructure project with piping and concrete structures and roadway restoration. So that's a good thing. And then looking a little more long-term, we've got the wastewater treatment plant upgrades to think about. And like I said, we're starting that conversation with MDE now. Potentially a new elevated storage tank, either towards the south end of town to try to balance the system, or on the north end of town to try to hit where most of the development is happening. And then to continue with rehabilitation of the pump stations, so we don't get behind on those, not only from just replacing old pumps, but also putting in more efficient pumps. We always have our eyes open for grants that the state or federal government come out with to fund that kind of thing. We've had several pump stations over the last few years get completely paid for by the state because they want you to be more efficient. And we will certainly spend their money and save our clients money at the same time. Can't beat that. And then stay on top of the three existing wells have plenty of capacity, but they do get clogged up, so we need to make sure we stay on top of the rehabilitation of those wells. So I believe that was all I had, but if you guys have any questions, I'll let Jamie answer.
Any questions for Josh or Jamie,
I do. So when you, and this is probably true, when you're talking about the Broad Street,
Lift station?
that dinosaur, yeah. So you're talking about possibly replacing in a new location, right?
Well, it'll be in front of the old one. So right now, there's a long, narrow strip of land, and the existing pump station's at the back of that. So the gravity sewer lines are coming in from the front. So all we'll do is drop a new at-grade, state-of-the-art pump station right on top of those existing lines. And we'll be able to connect into the gravity sewer coming in, connect into the force main going out, and just really makes things simple.
Okay, so I think that probably answers where I was going next, because I guess my head was thinking, is there a cost associated with the old one? You know what I mean? Once you've moved out and started using the new guy, is there a fee or associated cost with closing it out,
That's a good question.
doing whatever?
Yeah, there will definitely be demolition involved, the proper safe disposal of any waste that's currently in that pump station, and then anything we can salvage, the town will salvage that to reuse later or sell for scrap. But there is a cost with demolishing that.
So would that be when you're talking about the possible cost, that would all be included in there?
Yeah, we would make sure in the bid, it would be included into it, so that it would be taken care of properly and everything.
We want one contractor to come in with the responsibility and liability to do all that work, so when he leaves, you guys are
Everything's
taking
clean.
care of it.
Yeah, and then that way, we're not, one person doing this, one person, so we have one person for contact, point of contact, and if we have a problem, it's easier to call one person than try to say, well, this guy did this guy did that, and you never get your problem solved.
My wife's a nurse, and they just had a little party where they all went to some place and they gave them sledgehammers and golf clubs and had them go out and back in a whole
Yes, I'm trying to
refrigerators.
go there.
So maybe you could charge people to come in and knock that building down with golf clubs and sledgehammers.
I don't want to go there, but I want to go where she went.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, Josh, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll leave some cards up here if you guys have any questions. You got my number, and of course, Jamie and Jeff always know how to get a hold of me.
Thank you, we appreciate it. All right, next up on our agenda is agenda item number 6, the town administrator's report.
Mayor and council, I don't have a lot, I just want everyone aware, and then you can fill in the blanks. Steve Miller with Booth and Associates, our long-term financial analyst, if you will, for the electric utility. He has announced his retirement. June 1, he will retire, and they have announced his replacement, a young lady by the name of Mary Frost. And she does bring, from what we've been told through her bio, about 20-plus years experience. So we're looking forward to a relationship with Mary and to continue their relationship with Booth. Here at Town Hall, over the course of the past week or so, we still have remained with doors closed, but I know the mayor and I have spoken, assuming that the numbers stay as they are. We're targeting May 3rd. Is
Monday, next Monday.
Next Monday is a reopen.
We follow the state and the local data. The local data is doing very well. The state data just crossed below the 5% threshold, so we're optimistic that it'll stay there and hopefully open town hall back up to the public on Monday, May 3rd, and then feathering in that reduced density again for our open meeting.
And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Then we'll start with departmental reports. So we want to do round robin, starting with Tim.
Yep.
I really don't have a lot to report.
All right. Natalie, finance.
Good, thank you.
Chief of police.
We just want to express our prayers to Delmar, the police department, and the community. They definitely have our full support. We've offered to send any resources they may need, including manpower, and we're going to try to make contact with the chief and the staff within this week. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Chief. Jamie?
Other than fixing the sewer lateral on 513 South Main, we do have a contractor coming in to start repairing sidewalks and blacktopping the stuff that we tore up this winter and previous times, so they should be here hopefully this week. So they're supposed to meet me tomorrow, and then we'll get stuff rolling. So, but I still have to get paperwork filled out because we have one on Bay Street and South Main Street and Broad Street, so I have to get lane closure set up through the state highway. So I'm going to try to get a schedule for him, and then, but that'll be just one lane closed, so it won't be like a full lane closure or like we had on Saturday. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Mary?
I don't have anything this evening.
And Kelsey?
I do not either.
And Jeff again?
I have Ivy's report.
Okay.
She wanted me to make sure everyone knows that the Berlin Farmers Market opens starting this Sunday. The hours are 9 to 1.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions for our department head?
Jamie, Jeff pointed out there, is that part of the projects on Ashland going to get taken care of soon? Is that part of that?
Yes, this is one that, yes.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, down by Franklin Knoll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions by the council for our
I
department
had to
head?
think about it.
Tim's raising his hand.
Okay.
There is one thing I did forget to mention. I would say in the next 4 to 5 days, there's going to be a road closure at Route 113 and ST Road, Bay Street, basically. It's for the relocation of the utility lines for the SHA project, for the widening of the road. Verizon is trying to set up a full road closure on Route 113, and it's going to happen around 10 o'clock at night. We just haven't figured out which day they want to do it, but it should be in the next 4 to 6 days or so. But we're also going to have to work with them at the same time because we have an overhead guy wire that we got to string across all 4 lanes of Route 113. The police department, which Arnold, I got to talk to you about that, is going to end up assisting us with that road closure during that time frame.
Thank you.
How big of a corridor did you say? All of 113?
Yes,
North
it's
and
going to be
south?
at around 10 o'clock at night.
So are you talking just right there at the light, or will it be like?
It's right at the
At the intersection, just right there.
If you leave Town Hall and you come up to the traffic light, right there at the intersection, it's going to be on the right-hand side. There's going to be some cables strung across Route 113 in the air between 2 poles. But the state highway mandates that we basically shut the entire road down. That's why we have to have the police department assist us with it.
Gotcha.
And just keep us posted on what day that ends up being.
I may know tomorrow. I talked to him today, Brian Evans with Verizon. He said he would let me know the next day or so.
All right.
And how will
Thank you.
traffic be rerouted?
What's that, sir?
How will traffic be rerouted?
I don't know.
State Highway has full detour plans for the town of Berlin, same as all the way throughout the county. So they'll go ahead and mitigate whatever point. So if it has to go through 46, everything through town, whatever they have to go ahead and do. But again, we have to go ahead and see exactly what their plan is. State Highway goes in and figures it out. We find out later. I mean, it always happens that way.
I mean, as soon as we figure out what day it's going to be, we'll get all the details together on how we're going to do it and that type of thing.
And I do believe some of the work is going to start soon on that road. We've not heard a date. I've asked, Josh has asked numerous times, but nobody's given us a firm start date. And I do know that at some point in time, pretty much everybody from Flower Street to Bottle Branch will be out of water.
Good Googling.
They got to do a tie-in. I mean, I can't prevent it. I can't stop it. I mean, they have to move our water main. So there's some,
A lot of logistics.
yeah. So I mean, Tim's had a lot on his end, and there's, you know, and I've said it once before, and I think I've said it 100 times. That's our main artery to the wastewater plant, and we will have some people here just in case, you know, somebody that can make decisions that, because they will be working at nighttime. So when they start touching with that main, we will have somebody here.
Thank you. And thank you both for working closely with State Highway on that. And the chief with handling the rerouting. All right, so let's go to item number 8 on our agenda and comments from the council, and we'll start with Councilmember Orris.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a quick follow-up question. I will assume that State Highway will talk to the fire company as well, or will you do that?
No, we would not assume that. We never do. We definitely, once we get word, and as Tim said, they'll advise us last minute. It's something that's normal.
Okay.
If they're milling on the 346, again, they're supposed to get time, call Jeff, and everybody knows. But again, those things can happen in 3 days, and boom, you have to have this, have a change of manpower. So we're going to be there back in, as usual.
You take a look, excuse me, Chief, you take a look last week when I was out, Main Street. That wasn't even planned,
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
okay?
We have some back doors, like if they're going to paint, again, it won't come from official channels that we'll know, and we'll be able to go ahead and move manpower. But once we get the information, we make sure that the county is advised and the fire department.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Nur?
Yeah, just two things. I just want to give a big thank you to Jamie and crew for taking care of 513 Main. You made a resident very happy. And I wanted to ask the mayor, when are we going to continue discussions on Heron Park? And whether we're going to sell those parcels or keep them?
As I indicated in my weekly report, that is something that I intend to ask in just a moment, to get a sense of where the council would like to go with parcel 41057. So like I mentioned in that weekly report, we'll do that in just a moment. Councilmember Nichols?
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody, for all of your hard work. We appreciate it. And please keep us abreast on when this water is going to be gone. Please, please, please. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so as Councilmember Nur alluded to, I had asked the council in my weekly report to consider following our listening session from the Heron Park parcels 410 and 57 to begin considering whether you would like the town to continue having dialogue with the interested parties. And I would like us, we're not here to decide whether we're going to sell it or not sell it. The only thing we're here to say is whether you want us to continue to devote staff time into meeting with people that are interested in parcel 410, which for everybody that's watching at home, that is the parcel that's behind the recycling center, or the single stream recycling, and just before you get to the berms of the lagoons. And then parcel 57 is pretty much what the building is and the parking lot behind it. So I would just like to know if the council feels passionately one way or the other about either stopping dialogue and maintaining both parcels, or continuing to have dialogue and see where that takes us. So we can do that in any format if anybody feels like they would like to begin.
Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, and we have two of our colleagues out unfortunately tonight, but I mean, I think that our listening session was pretty, in my opinion, was pretty clear in keeping 410 but exploring 57. That was my interpretation. Keeping 410 as in town property, excuse me, and then exploring 57. So right now, that's my feeling on it.
So keeping 410 and still exploring options with 57.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Nura or Councilmember Nichols?
Mika, you want to go?
I'm only laughing at you guys because, no, fine, I'll go. My thoughts on this whole Heron Park thing right now is, I still say, I'm not 100% sold on keeping that portion. I mean, we still have the debt that's associated with this. I'm not saying that we need to sell it to whomever is on the table at the moment, but I think we need to look at it a little bit and discuss what was just brought to us at least. So.
And to Councilmember Nichols' point, like I stated just a second ago and in the weekly report, I'm not looking for us to seek action on selling it.
This is just a...
Yeah, we just want to know that there are interested parties for both parcels. And rather than devoting staff time in a direction that the council would not like to pursue, if that exists, or wasting a developer's time or an interested party's time, I would like to get a sense following that listening session where our heads are. So, Councilmember Nichols, from what I understand, and you made a great point about the debt service, parcel 410 and 57, you would be open to still hearing options.
Yes, because we still have the debt. Yes, I understand the listening session, and I don't belittle any of it. I think it was phenomenal. But I think we need to look at the whole thing and be realistic, that we still have a debt to pay, and we're sitting here going over budgets, and this is, yeah, we need to at least give it some thought.
Thank you. Councilmember Nur?
Yes, based on that listening session, I'm in favor of, for right now, keeping 410 and exploring the revenue producing options that were proposed that night. I think there's a couple of them.
Elaborate if you don't mind.
So, like Ann Hillier and Brad Hoffman came through, wanted to do a summer concert series, which would produce revenue that the town could benefit from, which would help reduce the debt. I think we should explore that before we would make a decision to sell that parcel. If we can produce revenue, that's a win-win for the town. And as far as 57 goes, I think we should pursue selling 57, provided we can get the right project for the town of Berlin. I don't want to just see townhomes go up there. I want to see someone either do a rehab of that building and turn it into something nice, or tear the building down and do something that the town will benefit from.
Thank you for that. So what I hear is revenue producing options you're open to for 410, specifically like what Ann and Brad proposed during the listening session, and parcel 57 you're open to still exploring. Now, the only thing is, I know you mentioned revenue producing options for 410, and they're continuing to explore those. Are you gonna limit it to just with like the concerts and things of that nature, or would you still like to hear whatever the options may be for interested parties with 410?
I would like to hear all options, but I don't want it to drag into summer where we lose the opportunity to make revenue.
I don't know if they're mutually exclusive things. So I think that by looking at what Ann and Brad proposed, it's very similar to what the committee has heard before as well. We would have to look at defining a path for that. But I would also say that I don't know if looking at what Ann and Brad said and what the committee's explored, really takes away from also looking and listening to what other people may want to do, whatever that could be with 410. So I'm just saying, if you're open to still hearing it, I think that it could be beneficial on the debt service side and on the return for the parcel. I'm just saying that there's nothing wrong with keeping an ear open, but.
Yeah, on the debt service side, again, it would have to be the right project.
Yeah, I mean, all of this would have to be the right project, whether it's 410 or 57. We wouldn't say that we're going to sell it just for the sake of selling it. I think that it does have to fit. It has to be something that's going to add value to the town of Berlin and work with the fact that we're still keeping a passive use area back there around the lagoons. We don't want something that's going to take away from that. So.
But I would want to have all those conversations sooner than later.
Yeah, but it takes, like, some of those conversations, the reason I'm asking is because if we're going to start exploring it, we got to start sitting down with the town attorney to figure out what's closed session negotiation, what's open session conversation, what's a work session. We got to start laying that framework out.
Right.
And I don't want to do that if the council's not open to hearing it. So.
Well, that's the main reason, I'm sorry, I'm going to raise my voice. Well, that's the main reason why I say that I feel we should be open. Because I feel that if you close your mind or close the door to the possibility of the what if, the what could happen by reducing the debt, by selling this off, then I think that that's limiting the overall process of how to make any of this work to benefit the town as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Am I making any sense?
And right now, there's a lot of information. So we've got an appraisal of a parcel. We have another appraisal that's still in limbo. We have some interested parties for both sections. And if you're open to hearing it, I think we should figure out the best way to structure it so that we don't take away from somebody's ability to negotiate pricing, which is a contract negotiation, should be done in executive, versus a clear plan so that we're all able to be open and transparent with the public as well as with the council about what options truly exist. And if that's something you're interested in still hearing, then we need to start framing that, because once this budget's wrapped up in May, I'd like to get right into looking at Heron Park.
Well, I think that's pretty much what we're saying.
Okay, so we are.
It's just there's different, we have different,
Yeah, my emphasis was on the revenue side, but I am open to options, all options, of course.
When I was asked about I was asked 410 or 57, and, right now I am, more interested in selling for 57, if anyone is interested and it works for the town.
And what we should say is that not just sale, it may be more advantageous to lease, it may be more advantageous if, let's just say that this plays out a little bit longer and we're able to reapply for a demolition grant, that might be our next best viable option. We don't know. But we've got to start having that dialogue sooner rather than later.
I think that, I can't speak for everybody, but I think we all agree that we are interested in exploring any revenue generating opportunities for that parcel.
For 410 and 57, or are you just talking about 57?
For me, personally, I'm just speaking of 57 right now.
Okay. And Councilmember Nichols, I hear you as 410 and 57.
Yes.
Councilmember Nur, I hear you as 410 and 57.
To,
Explore the option.
yes.
Okay. So with that being said, I will reach out to our colleagues that aren't here this evening, but from what I'm hearing, we can still continue to devote some staff time to that. We can begin to develop a plan to see what our next steps are and the best way for presenting that publicly and privately. All right. Thank you. That concludes my comments for the evening. And do we have any comments from the public?
We do. I've actually put them into the slide because there's quite a few from, these come from Alyssa Maloof. I don't know if you want me to read down the lot. She also, oh, my computer just turned off.
I think you just.
I think the cords came loose. I can read it from here.
Use the power.
She also has photos attached. I think the cords came loose.
So I can summarize it a little bit, I think, while we're figuring out our technical issues. So from my understanding, Ms. Maloof has reached out in reference to some parking that happens on Jefferson Street, right off the intersection of Main Street. Once we figure out our technical difficulties, we'll have some photos that we can share. And I believe that, as you can see from this, that there are some safety concerns, some concerns about loading and unloading, the dangers associated with maybe pulling out of an intersection or pulling in, and then whether apparatus and emergency vehicles can access along with some beautification concerns. So I think that we've received this in a time enough that I believe the chief of police is capable of dissenting a little bit on this and maybe providing a little bit of some background for us.
Well, in speaking to Jefferson Street, we actually improved the flow with stopping parking on the Atlantic Hotel side. When we speak of the loading and unloading zone, it's the same problem or issue that we speak with all the businesses, and those type of deliveries should be done before 10 o'clock. What we definitely have is concerns by the residents that are living above the actual apartments, who are constantly saying that we do not have any parking and you're constantly taking parking away. They're making statements that we actually have to go ahead and walk with our babies in the bags, trying to go ahead out there find parking. And we need to make sure that we take our time and look at actual parking itself. The survey's already been done. We know exactly how many spaces there are, but we are systematically removing parking spaces when everyone's saying that we need to have parking. When we're talking about Jefferson Street specifically, you can have 3 vehicles, we're talking about standard vehicles, moving at the same time. One parked and the other 2 moving at the same time. What you can't have is 18-wheelers going down any of our streets on an urban basis, meaning even Main Street, you can't really have 18-wheelers riding up and down those, because the streets themselves were not made for vehicles, they're made for horses and carriage. So we have to impress upon all the businesses, if we're talking about those bigger trucks doing delivery, they have to adhere to, let's have those deliveries before people start moving. We have to go ahead and look and see where we want to go ahead and remove parking spaces and why. And we shouldn't do it just because one person says or another. Because one thing we've actually found, that we've attempted to do good things and business owners are actually taking advantage of that for their businesses. We're talking about Commerce Street. We've actually had businesses that say, we need 2 spaces, 15 minutes because. Well, you have all those individuals who live across from Main Street that's been parking and living there for 20 plus years, and they come back and say, we don't have any parking spaces. So we really have to take our time and look at seeing who we're affecting whenever we're moving parking and what are the actual concerns. Have we had accidents on that street? We haven't really had accidents on that street. When we look at the numbers, have we ever had accidents at an intersection? Because the building itself is the block. As long as no vehicles actually park beyond the building, you're still going to have that actual site issue because the building is blocked, not the vehicles themselves. So we really have to take our time and make sure that we really look at each issue separately and to make sure that we're making the decision with the informed information.
Thank you, Chief.
Did we get the photos up?
Yeah, whenever you guys were ready. Yep.
Yeah. I just had a question, really to clarify. If you can pull up, Kelsey, I think it's the first picture where it's aimed at the 3 vehicles. Oh, yeah. It's
This.
One to which one?
one to the left of that. The one third, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Give us rows and columns.
Yeah, so, but, now Ms. Maloof mentions 3 spots, but I want to clarify, is it actually 2 because the stop sign is up there with red cement paint? So is it, the stop sign, is that actually a spot? And then there's the 2 that she's referring to?
It's no parking itself beyond the actual building, so it's not all the way to the parking line.
Okay, so the stop sign, no one's parking in the red load, or the red...
No, they can't park in the red.
Yes, but, okay.
We can go ahead and tow them out.
I thought I saw a picture where someone was parked in the road.
I can
Perhaps I was just.
No, that's not, and again, if you go ahead and look, the building itself is your site picture issue.
Okay.
So you can't, and the thing is, you have to pull all the way up to the building. And we really can't move the building. It should not be any space, past the actual building.
So go back, Kelsey, go back to, row 4, the top, whatever it is. Yep, right there.
Okay.
So, Chief, you're saying that the 2 sedans are in the right, the Suburban is in the wrong. Is that true?
I'm not saying any of the vehicles are wrong.
Okay, I thought,
Everything is going forward towards Main Street is
Okay.
what the issue is when they ever talk about public safety. When you look at that space, you can tell that you can actually have a vehicle coming and meeting each other without an issue.
Chelsea,
You see how wide the street is?
Picture with the truck.
yeah,
I'm sorry, which,
The one
I
with
feel
the
that I
truck.
thought,
The
I
second
thought I
picture,
heard
yeah.
that where the building ends, there are no vehicles parked
Right, so
beyond.
you can go ahead and see there's plenty of room there. The 18-wheeler, what time is that? Again, if it's after 10 o'clock, it has no business being there. We've actually talked to business owners before. And if you can go ahead and do the same thing with a smaller truck, that's what you should be doing. Again, we have businesses that don't have any area to park, let alone to go ahead and have any delivery. If we were forcing the businesses to do what they should be doing, once they're being built, they have to have enough room for their deliveries. You can't do that with any downtown business. We actually have businesses that are being built that have no parking. How can you have a restaurant with 25 people inside and no parking? So when you change a hardware store into something, you have to really do your due diligence to make sure that it really doesn't have that effect on the parking itself.
So Chief, is that the loading and unloading zone for the hotel where that truck is?
That is where they load and unload, yes. Is it a loading and unloading zone? No, that's the only place they'll ever be able to load and unload.
So where's the one with the FedEx truck?
That, I think, is actually not on that street. I think it's
Well,
as an example.
Oh,
Let's
that's-
stick with that. The question is, if they have trucks coming in, where can they safely be to unload?
Yeah, you're right.
And you won't be able to find anywhere.
So a FedEx truck
Yeah,
could
that's
pull
the
behind the
hotel.
building where their parking lot is?
This FedEx is not the issue, state 10 village.
That's the big trucks.
That's just the big trucks. And the same thing you see is that 18-wheeler that would stop here at the corner and unload their goods. So you have to go ahead and say, with us, the only thing we can control, if we advise them, is the timing. If you go ahead and do it at 7 o'clock in the morning versus 12 o'clock afternoon, that's a big difference.
and I know some of these aren't particularly Jefferson, but if you want me to.
I
So
think she was,
Right now, that timing is not restricted, correct?
It is a request, and they actually, for the better part, most of the businesses have been following through with that. Justine, she's actually made conversation with the vendors and telling them, can you go ahead and let them utilize smaller trucks? Those are the things that we have to go ahead and look at. It has to be a partnership, to be honest.
yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions for the chief or any other photos that we would like to review? All right, and do we have any more comments from the public?
The only other comment that we received, I forwarded to you earlier, it was actually received after the deadline. It is your discretion.
Yeah, go ahead. I think it ties in with this and
The comment came from Laura Stearns, and it reads, "Dear Mayor and Council, we would like to respectfully request that the 3 parking spaces at the corner of Jefferson and Main Street not be removed to allow for a loading unloading zone. The minimal parking that we have in this town is precious, and removing these spaces would further compound the problem. The Atlantic Hotel deliveries are primarily before business hours. We also have a large parking lot where the trucks can unload deliveries. Thank you for your consideration." And just the note that Ms. Stearns is the general manager at the Atlantic Hotel.
thank you. All right, any other comments from the public?
No, I did not receive it.
No.
Any comments or questions from the press?
No.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Nice.
All right, so now, let's take 10 minutes, and then we'll reconvene with Jamie and Natalie.